This is Abnormal Entertainment.
I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. I am a real American, fight for what's right, fight for your life.
You're listening to the No Cry Zone, a progressive political podcast on the Abnormal Entertainment Network.
And welcome to the No Cry Zone. I am here with John and Rob, and this is Dave. As always, perusing the headlines, the Russian collusion. No, it's not. It's a hoax. That's fake news, except for the fake news, like putting fake Time magazine covers of you up in your golf courses. You know, that sort of thing is happening. What are you guys seeing in the world? What's going on? I've been in the work bubble.
Well, this just in from Arkansas. Gentleman yelling freedom crashed his vehicle into Arkansas's brand new Ten Commandments monument early today and destroyed it. This is the monument that has been the subject of quite a lot of dispute and debate.
That's a taxpayer-funded monument.
Taxpayers paid for a Ten Commandments monument?
Well, that was the point of the debate. Not that the taxpayers paid for it. I don't think taxpayers paid for it, but that it was on government property. Therefore, the argument is that it was an endorsement of Judeo-Christian religion. So
that's Arkansas.
Yeah, Michael Reed was booked on preliminary charges of defacing objects of public interest, criminal trespass, and first-degree criminal mischief. Yeah,
I could get.
He listed his occupation as unemployed, disabled. So
about to get his Medicaid cut.
Yeah. Anyway,
so he can get a job, David. Don't worry.
Oh yeah,
there's that.
So that's interesting. A friend of mine who lives in Kansas City was just protesting in front of his representative's office, his senator's office, about the health care bill that's probably going to pass and get through in some manner through the Senate. He was in a coma. This guy, man, this poor dude. He was in a coma and comes out of the coma and needs a heart transplant. He's got kids. He can't work now because his heart he's got a bum ticker.
Yeah.
And so this would effectively kill him.
Mm-hmm. But he probably, if you look at him, he looks healthy. So he should go get a job. That is the Republican state of mind right now. Is they're making this reality of the cross section of population that is just not true. I mean, there are people that cannot work.
Right.
There are people that are in a very bad situation, and if you gave them a little bit of help, you could get them out of that situation. On and on and on.
I'm not so sure this bill is going to pass. I don't think it's going to pass. He's already delayed it past the July 4th holiday, which means the senators are all going to go home, and I think they're going to see a lot of activity. There was a recent poll that came out yesterday. Basically, 17% of the people that were polled said that they approve of this bill.
Right.
It has 60% are against it, 55 plus, I think. So I'm not so sure that they're going to get this down.
Unless somebody comes along with the right price.
This is the same problem that has been at this from the very beginning. If you appease the hardliners, you lose the moderates. You appease the moderates, you lose the hardliners. And because the hardliners and the moderates, especially the hardliners, are unable to compromise, there will be no compromise. Which is a good thing in this case. There should be no compromise.
This is a really good example of how these riders on bills work in the favor sometimes of squashing bad things. There's a bunch of moderate riders on there that the hardliners can't stand.
Right. Well, they're basically like for Rand Paul. He basically like this is going to cost the same amount of money. He doesn't care about the tax breaks that it provides to the rich. His whole issue is this is going to cost the same amount of money as Obamacare. So why would I vote for this? Because he's all about reducing the cost. So that's one of the hardline positions. The moderates are basically like, there's no way I can vote for this if we're not taking care of certain folks, i.e. my voters, I can't. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to.
That's what Jeff Flake is freaking out. It's a huge retirement state in Arizona. This kills seniors.
Exactly. And for a president who, in his announcement that he was running for president, and then subsequently just about every other rally, said, we're not going to cut Medicare. We're not going to cut Medicare. This is a complete cut of Medicare. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to die. I think Mitch McConnell knows that this can't pass. I think he's just unwilling at this point to just say, it's done, let's move on. They're going to dither with it for a little bit while, but they've got a problem here. They've got a timeline problem. Because if they want to get to tax reform, which is their other big thing, they can't dither with this health care for too much longer because they got to move on to tax reform. And the longer they take to pass any kind of overhaul on health care, the problem is that you're getting closer to the end of the year. People need to know the amount of doubt. This then becomes a business issue for the insurance companies. So they've got a lot of pressure. It's like, if you're going to overhaul it, you have to overhaul it now. And if you're not going to overhaul it, then you got to move on to tax reform. The Koch brothers and the others have already said they're going to turn off the money spigot. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
They gathered last weekend, all these big money Republican donors, including the Koch brothers, and they say they're turning off the money. And they're basic to the Republicans, especially Senate Republicans, because they said, look, you have the Senate, you have the House, you have the White House. Get this done. What's the problem here? Stop your infighting and get done our agenda, and we're not going to give you any more money until it gets done. So
that's probably the best motivator they have.
Right. Yeah. So you've got your money people are going, get it done, or we're cutting off the money. You've got the moderates can't go here, the hardliners can't go there. I just don't think this will get done. And they'll move on to tax reform, and in a lot of ways, if they scuttle health care and let that be a win for progressives, that way they can get their tax reform through a little bit easier. Like, well, we gave you the health care. You got to give us tax reform.
I don't think as it stands, though, because the tax reform idea, the tax reform proposal, and this is air quoting the 2-page. Oh, your taxes are 2 pages now.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. That can't go through as is. That's not going to make anybody. That is on its face. Here, rich people have more.
Right.
Oh, it just says it at the top.
Oh, that's pretty much. I think that's the name of the bill. The Rich People Get More Act.
Right. It's called Give Trump Cash Act.
Right. So, but they can't. You're right, as in its current form. But they can't work on it until they get this healthcare thing.
Right. But they've proven they can't work on stuff. Even behind closed doors, they can't craft something logical.
As great question that we've heard from some friends of ours, and I think it's a question worth repeating, is where are the Democrats with their Obamacare fix?
Right.
Where are they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where's Pelosi? Where's Schumer? This, by the way, now would be the perfect time for Democratic leaders to come out and say, here is our, while these guys have been dicking around in back rooms trying to screw you, we are actually working on a bill to fix Obamacare. Here it is. And lay it out. And by the way, we sent it over to the CBO, and here's the score.
With absolutely zero chance of it passing.
No, there's no chance it'll pass. But you use it as a tactic.
Well, do you think that's a wise tactic? I mean, because right now you've got a bill that's only 17% of the populace likes. What if you come out with your new plan, and they do the old Republican runaround, and they point out that this is much worse? Look at us. I think this is the best route. Just let this sit for itself and be like awful.
I understand that strategy, but I think that if you don't offer, you will pay the price for that in 18 and then in 20. If you don't have an alternative, we can't just
let this die and then do the alternative.
But I hope they have an alternative. In other words, look, we're sitting here saying, the Republicans sat back and said they had a plan and they didn't. Well, the same goes for the Democrats. They better have a plan.
Well, they never said they had one.
Well, they did. It's Obamacare. But the whole point is part of their argument against the overhaul of Obamacare is we shouldn't be overhauling or replacing Obamacare. We should be fixing it. Okay, what's the fix?
I think there's a bipartisan fix.
Well, where is it?
But that's what. It can't happen.
Right.
Maybe that's the tactic there. We can't get a bipartisan fix because they just want to kill it.
I hope that the Democrats are doing their homework in the meantime. That they're not doing the same thing that the Republicans did, which was become blatantly clear that the Republicans did nothing for all those years that they were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. They did nothing.
Right. So
and then suddenly, when it was like their turn, they're like, "Oh shit,
it's our turn."
It's like being in
we didn't expect this.
It was like a day before finals, and you have not studied a damn thing. And I'm like, oh shit.
2 a.m. You're cramming all of the 13th century.
Now, I just read something that the big thing about the Obamacare in a death spiral that the Republicans keep calling about was mostly because the insurance companies were getting the word from the new people that we're going to replace and we're going to repeal. So they were pulling themselves out in order to make it look like it was going into a death spiral. And now a lot of the insurers are like, well, this is better than what these guys have got going on. We'd much rather stay in this. And now, even if you just let Obamacare go the way it is now,
like it was supposed to.
Yeah, it will not go into a death spiral.
Right.
I don't know enough about the economy
it was
of
that,
it all,
and
but
the
that's
states.
what I'm hearing is this was all just bullshit. You know, the Obamacare going into the tubes was just bullshit because it was the insurers pulling out.
It was the insurers, and it was the states that didn't implement it fully. Like the red states are like, oh, well, we'll do what we have to. But the ones that didn't implement it fully, that's where people started to feel the hit too. And now, if this can still be implemented across the board and be a far better plan already than what was there before and with the Republicans.
So that's my point. Is that the better play is to just leave Obamacare alone and let it work and let these insurers figure out that that's the better system to be in and let them work the market the way they want.
Well, maybe. Well, and you're right. Time will tell.
Yeah.
And again, still, the Democrats better be doing their homework, i.e., communicating with the insurance industry but look, there's
I don't know if it needs legislation coming.
But the executive branch in charge, which Trump is in charge of, has a lot to say or has a lot of effect on the marketplace and the way that the Affordable Care Act is implemented. They can, and he already has, withheld certain tax breaks and other grants to push along this spiral, to try and push it into a death spiral. And there's a lot more that they can do over time to make sure Obamacare doesn't work. And if anyone's a dick to do that, it's Trump.
Right.
And it will have no problem doing it.
And then I think at that point, once this bill is dead, if it dies, then that's when you start pointing that out. Well, Obamacare would work here, but Trump rescinded those and these people died.
But long term, I mean, going into this argument 10 years ago about healthcare reform, I just think that the overwhelming consensus in my mind of evidence is that we need to move towards a single payer system.
Yeah.
That's what works.
That's what
can work. And yet the Democrats are not talking single payer.
Oh, no.
Pelosi just denied it.
Made sure it stayed off. And as a political tactic, maybe that was wise. But I just think that moving forward, we're going to run into the same problem that we ran into last year in terms of apathy amongst voters if you don't provide some, and I think not just something, but we're doing this for just the sake of doing it, but a real plan to say, we stand behind single payer because it works. And I know that these guys are going to tell you it's this and it's that and it's communism and it's evil, and fuck them. Look at the shit they brought you all this time. Single payer is what works. And again, when you look at the rest of the world, the rest of the industrialized world, almost every country has a single payer system.
But we're better.
Why? We're better at dying?
Better.
Yep, we got that down.
Better flag.
Yeah. We're better at high infant mortality. I mean, you want to talk
totally
about
not against
you
that.
totally want to talk about a scandal. Talk about a scandal. A country like the United States has one of the highest infant mortality rates in the Western world. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wait, do you mean that American exceptionalism makes us blind to what happens here?
No.
What?
I would never say that.
No, you couldn't, because they would stone you and run you out of town.
He's a witch!
If it drowns, he's a witch. If he swims, he's a witch. What? Just cook him.
Just kill him.
Burn him, make some perfume.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
I would like our Democrats to at least stand behind their own legislation. That's all I want.
Right.
I want them, instead of bringing up
Which
all
they-
these people that
they
have been
are.
saved, show the numbers. Talk about the numbers. Talk about how hard it was
They are.
to get this where we are today. And then I do kind of understand the Pelosi not bringing up single payer right now, but I don't understand her not touting the praises of Obamacare and the ACA.
She's not doing it, but others are. I mean, they're out there.
Well, I think we need our leader doing it, don't you? I mean, this is the Democratic legislation. They need to be standing behind it. It reminds me of
Need a new leader.
What was it, 2010, when they wouldn't bring Obama around with them to stump?
And then they got their ass handed to them.
It completely reminds me of the same.
And that's what I
scenario.
don't want to have happen next year in the 2018 elections.
You know?
Is that one of the criticisms of, and I want to bring this up, one of the criticisms of John Ossoff was that he took this middle ground and he was not, he did not fully embrace progressive causes that potentially could have, although, hindsight's always 20/20, but potentially could have generated the enthusiasm to get him over the line. Who knows? But I just think that for the party as a whole, nationwide, we're going to run into the same lack of enthusiasm. The Russia stuff, to think that opposition, the outrage over Russiagate is somehow going to translate into enthusiasm and optimism for Democrats, that's a false equation.
Well,
It will not
there's no
necessarily
outrage.
translate. It will not necessarily translate.
There's no outrage anyway.
Yeah,
Well, the outreach is petering out, and because these investigations take a long time.
It wasn't really outrage to begin with. A vast majority of people are like, whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
What the what? Whatever.
And really,
but you just had some outrage.
To them, not to the. I'm more outraged that people that there is no outrage.
Well, I think that, but I'm talking about amongst progressives, not the population in general. Because there's too many people. Look, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, there were folks that were, they're like, any day now he's going to resign. Any day they're going to. We're just waiting. Every day they get up and they check their Twitter feed, and like, what do they got? Oh, it's the same old fucking shit. And here he is, and it's like, get used to it. This guy's going to be the president.
He is the president.
There's still a lot of folks they're living in this world that Russiagate is going to impeach him like tomorrow. It may end up with impeachment.
Yeah,
it may end up with resignation. I still say the likelihood is it'll end up in scandal, but it won't end up with either impeachment nor resignation.
Probably not. And what we're going to be living with is what we said before. Eventually, the country will come around to what a big douchebag this guy is, but it's got to hit him first. All this stuff. Russia doesn't touch people except Sarah Palin.
yeah.
Well, she see.
It doesn't touch people. The whole Russian thing doesn't. Scandal like this, foreign relations in general, are beyond the scope of most people. But you can tell them what to do.
Right.
Okay, China, give us money.
Right.
They're not doing it. What do we do? It's
Well-
nothing we do is enforceable.
Well, and that's backed up. I saw something a couple weeks ago where they asked people to point to North Korea on a map. Actually, they just said point to Korea, the Korean Peninsula, on a map, and they all pointed to India. Not all of them, but a majority of people pointed at India. Is it that one? That's pointy.
That's pointy.
And yeah,
Peninsula, the UP is what they're pointing at.
wow, that is close. This is a danger.
Their rockets can't get there? Weird. And,
I can get a bottle rocket across the
so
space.
is this a matter of rebranding? Should we rebrand single payer? Dirty words, universal health care,
Maybe.
dirty word, single payer?
Maybe.
I don't think we did enough with Medicare for all. Medicaid for all.
Right there, I think you.
That was the best thing.
Medicare for all. There's your rebranding.
And we tried,
Okay.
but now
Good job.
Well, no, that's one of their talking points right now is that Medicaid put too many healthy Americans on the rolls. Medicaid wasn't, designed for that, and I don't think that's a good one. I think you got to get around that the social norms of assistance.
We do
words.
realize that the big argument against Obamacare right now is exactly how insurance works.
Right.
Right. right.
The healthy people, they pay for the sick people. Yes.
But on the other
You have
side,
correctly
The
described
good drivers
insurance.
pay for the shitty drivers.
You
But on
have
the other
correctly
side-
described insurance.
well,
Good job.
but on the other side of that, on your car insurance, if you make $2 million, they don't charge you more.
No,
So
it's
that
just
is
saying,
their argument, is because they're making a lot of money, they are paying more in taxes per se
profit
than any
margins-
other people.
profit
It's-
margins in car insurance are also much smaller than in
Right.
health insurance too.
But the point is that there is a system out there that I do think would appease all. And we should be aiming towards that instead of this Republicans
But
trying to screw everybody.
In
thing.
practice, it will appease all. In theory, it can be positioned in any way you want,
Yeah.
and described in any way you want. So, I think case in point, who's bitching about the mandate now? Once they figured out how it worked, oh, that was it. Oh, all right, yeah, that's like okay, sorry.
Yeah, I never understood the mandate part, but I do know some people that make some good coin that immediately went up a lot in their health insurance. So, I mean, there was a tax on the rich, let's call it.
No, their
And-
insurance went up because of whom?
Well, it was,
The insurance companies were raising those rates to keep their that they would have done. This all goes back to the insurance companies and greed.
Yeah.
That's how it works out. The premiums would never have risen unless the insurance companies were like, we got to make the same amount of money we were making. The bucket loads
Right.
instead of just pails and pails. So that's they preyed off the people that
That's-
would fight this.
That's what health reform has been about for 25 years now.
Yeah,
is
pretty
about
much.
offsetting. Basically, when you have for-profit insurance, this goes down to until we as a nation mature to the point,
Oh, good
which
God.
I know, good God, that's ever going to happen.
You've been at
But-
puberty for 220 years.
It's time to change. So until we get that healthcare, I mean, I know it's a trite saying, but healthcare is a right. It's not a privilege. And until we can understand that it is not a business venture to provide healthcare to people.
What
It
about
is
illegal aliens?
It is
Come on,
not.
shut up.
Yeah, it is not. Oh, you mean like Trump promising at his rally that he was going to, make sure that illegal immigrants didn't get welfare benefits? He's going to pass a law that's already been on the books for 20 years?
That was the same rally that we promised to protect all the Christian immigrants, right?
Right. Except for the Iraqi Christians that he's thrown back to the wolves.
Whoa. No one
so-
said anything about brown Christians. Wait, hold your ass, our king.
Right. I know.
Brown Christians,
I'm sorry.
they don't count.
which is what they go out, they spread out around the world to get new people interested. And now we
like, so there's this guy.
oh no, not you guys.
There's a missionary in Uganda right now going, what? This is all for nothing? Son of a bitch! I got malaria 4 times!
Yeah. So, there's that.
And way to show the love and caring of your religion to get other people involved in your religion too. Oh, we don't like
The right people, though.
right.
It's got to be the right ones. Right. Of course. Yes, we saw that. So,
We don't have enough sheets for everyone. So, if we could just let the brown people know they're not welcome, we'll have enough sheets for everybody. Walmart's selling out of the 70 thread count sheets, the cheapest ones they got.
You can actually see through it.
You're like-
right in the package.
that's just burlap that's been bleached.
So one day with like white shopping bags just glued together. I'm here.
You know what? I like that. We should market that. Just white shopping bags. Maybe they'll all suffocate themselves. Here, these are brand new.
It's
New
for-
space fibers. Don't worry, you can breathe.
It's for rain meetings. Never get rained out of hate. Oh, this is awesome. Put it right on and
I can't breathe. Don't worry, you'll see Jesus soon.
you're supposed
keep breathing.
It's like that. It's supposed to be like that.
So,
You'll see Jesus soon. Get your new rapture suits.
okay. Well, we can always hope. It's nice to dream, isn't it?
Well,
So-
I mean, Arpaio, we all dreamt of taking Arpaio to court.
You know how long that took?
Yeah.
Like 50 years.
They're not going to do anything now because
They
no
took him.
one's dead.
They didn't even take him to court when he hired Steven Seagal in a tank. I need Steven Seagal, a tank, and we're going to roll on this house of coyotes that are transporting people through.
And wasn't he
Translation: elderly couple who are citizens.
Wasn't he taking like a group of 100 police officers through a particular neighborhood?
Yeah, he's marched through neighborhoods, but the one where he hired Steven Seagal to ride on the top of a tank,
Yeah.
to take out dirty immigrants. Like, holy shit, Arpaio! Oh my god, how do I hate thee? Let me count the ways.
And $14.1 million dollars worth of produce has rotted in the fields this week because we don't have enough immigrants.
Well,
And it's just, I mean, it really is even just the tough talk has kept everybody
people
away. They don't want, even if they're legal, they don't want to be here. You know, so I mean, that's
Why screw with it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
But yeah, so you see, you can get stopped, pulled over, and deported before anyone even checks your driver's license that says Johnny Williams. Well, that must have been a great tan. Whoops.
yeah.
You know, and it's like I say, like when they passed the Show Your Papers law in Arizona, it's like Prop 15 or something like that. First person they arrested, Navajo native.
right.
Yeah.
Show us your papers. I'm on the res, dude. You put me here.
I'm right where I'm supposed to be. What are you guys doing here?
Checking your papers. No papers, you come with us. Like, oh, whatever.
You know, so it's a strange thing. The whole immigration thing. You got to feel for some of the people, but nobody's really rushing for those jobs. You know?
No.
Nobody wants those jobs.
Because,
Mike
you know-
Rose running around town. You know,
Mike Rose he's trying to pick all.
Yeah, he's been screaming for people to do manual labor jobs for 15 years now, and nobody.
No,
I mean,
and,
we
you know,
have to have these jobs filled.
5 or 6 years ago, I bet you would have had more people fill out. But this is a decently robust economy right now, no matter what anybody says.
Yeah.
I see help wanted signs all over here.
Oh, yeah,
and we're
right.
in Michigan,
Yeah,
the land where people don't work.
You know.
And there's been a help wanted sign by the Pepsi plant for at least 6 months.
Yeah, and you know, it's a lot of factories and things like that too, and they're usually the first ones to cut back, and they're
Right.
the last ones to actually reach out again.
So it's pretty robust, and you're not going to get people to fill it. You wouldn't anyway. You know, Americans are too good to pick fruit. Brr. We don't have to go through John's blueberry.
That's what I'm
story.
telling you.
It's a pain in the
Oh,
ass.
you pick blueberry. This will be fun. 5 minutes into it. Fuck this shit.
You guys got any picked already up there at the front?
That's why I hunt in the grocery store.
Right? I'm like, whatever we're pay double it. This sucks.
Well, I do like going over,
Double it.
but I don't pick anymore. They got them up there at the front. You pay a couple extra dollars for it. You can just pick them right up there.
You know, this is your definite first world issues. And I talked to a friend of mine over the weekend, and his first job, he lives in Lansing. His first job was in Howell, and he was a corn picker for a local farmer like 25 years ago. And he would sit like precariously balance on the side of a wagon and grab ears of corn and throw them in behind him as fast as he could for hours and hours on end. He's like, that's the shittiest job I've ever had in my life. I'm like, yeah. It's like, they got machines now. They should. And that's terrible. It's
Right.
terrible.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because that's a whole nother topic when it comes to employment, and especially looking out into the future. You know, Trump and his married band of gentlemen talking about returning manufacturing to the United States, but they're not really talking about returning employment to the United States, because if these manufacturers come back to the United States, and look, if they come back to the United States, it's because labor in China or in Mexico will not be as cheap as it once was.
Right.
They're only going to come back if it economically makes sense to, not out of some patriotism or because Trump talked them into it. They're going to come back because it makes sense to their bottom line. And what's going to make sense to their bottom line is this increased automation, the increased use of robotics.
Yeah.
And so these jobs they're never coming back. They're never coming back anywhere.
Right.
They're not going to show up in China. They're just, the companies will return to the U.S. because they can, increasingly as technology advances, they're able to automate a lot of these systems. So jobs like that, of course, those are the easy ones to automate up front.
And they'll probably bring in an engineer from Japan, because Japan and
Due to our brain drain.
Well, they have gone way further with their children in robotics and computers, and they're teaching them at such a young age. That it will probably.
But
be
look at service,
implant
even
to America.
even service jobs. Look, we've already seen it at the supermarket with the U-checkout line, and now you're beginning to see it in food service, in fast food. You can go right to a kiosk, like the Panera Bread. You go and just boop, 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 and then go up and get it at the counter.
I'm not angry about the bag yourself thing, because due to the brain drain in this country, I can guarantee that someone put my potatoes on my bread and cilantro.
Right.
It's green. It goes on the bottom. Eh? What the son of a bitch?
Right. But again, these more and more we're going to see positions, occupations, and jobs being replaced by automation. What do we do with people? And that's a bigger discussion than anyone's having.
2 words.
Yeah.
I fixed the
I
problem.
already know what this is.
Soylent Green.
I knew you were going there.
Soylent Green. Are you hungry, third world?
Yeah.
I got a bunch of Trump voters that are prime cooking.
Well marbled.
They are. They're kind of gamey.
So,
It's harder
but
to
these
do
are
one.
big. But there's these big economic forces that are at work right now. This is not some distant, faraway thing that, it's in the future. No, the future's here. The future's now. This is already underway right now, and we're doing nothing about it. And I don't just mean we, the U.S. I mean the Western world generally is doing nothing about it. Not even really thinking about it. Yeah, they're talking about it a little bit. I mean, so you saw, like, I know that, like, Zuckerberg, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, he gave a speech recently, and he was talking about this very thing. We need to start thinking about the future of employment. What is it going to mean to be employed? How are we going to deal with the fact that there's going to be fewer and fewer actual jobs out there to be had, and more people with less and less jobs.
The model, how this plays out, and we've talked about this in higher ed quite a bit, and I think we're the only ones really, since you have to train some people. The way it's moving to is a specialized expertise. And the specialized expertise that a robot can't have. So the AI stuff, artificial intelligence stuff, that's scary as hell. Automation, I'm not scared about. AI, terrified of what could happen there, because they're like smarter, faster. It's like the bionic me would kick my me's ass. But where it's just specialized and very in-depth expertise in things. And that's where we're going to have to go with it. And it's anything that requires the judgment call. So,
yeah.
You know.
Oh, so Trump is perfect for this.
Oh, yeah, that's
I mean,
the reaction.
if there's anyone you can just trust on their gut judgment, it's Donald Trump.
Right, but you're forgetting the expertise part. So you're going to be in an industry where your expertise, and it's going to be you and maybe a couple of other people telling the programmers what to do.
Right.
You know,
and it'll probably be a contract gig.
Yep.
That, will get you through this year, or maybe next year, and then you're going to be looking for another one.
That's how my life works now. I'm in 15-week by 15-week contracts.
Wait a minute. I'm assuming that they've not been working on the long-term solution, but maybe their complete lack of caring and ignoring the global warming threat is their solution to this.
For Wall-E?
Yeah, we'll all be dead. They'll just drown us all. And there won't
Except
be any
the underground bunker people.
So 100 years from now, see, maybe they are working on this long term.
Under Denver Airport.
It's called Trumplantis. And I will pull all the people that I love there. It is under the sea. Sing the song! Sing the song! Under the sea, under the sea. Good! Trumplantis.
What animals do you think Trump would bring on his ark?
Oh, God, Trump's ark?
Yeah, he's
whatever you make taco bowls out of.
Jared's questionable right now. He might be.
Jared's kosher. He's gone. I would say, whatever burgers are made out of, he doesn't know, but just whatever hamburgers are made out of, get 2 of them.
I like chicken.
Or maybe, but only the breaded chicken. Only put breaded chicken on there. I only need brown cows for the chocolate milk.
Well, yeah. So
I don't know. I think that would probably be it.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I wonder if he knows more than 5 different animals. She's like 2 boxes of graham crackers, animal crackers, and that was it. That's all he puts on
He
there.
knows all the animals in animal crackers.
Yeah. So, I like when the lions sing, so put some lions on. And the Hakuna Matata song, I really dig that one, so give me one of them fang thingies and the little guy.
Ordering it up.
Okay.
What makes bacon? Give me a bacon thing. One of the bacon things with legs.
And one of the things that makes ham, too.
One of each.
One of each.
And I like the Canadian ham, so get the Canadian ham one, and then the bacon one, and then is there a sausage one? No, we'll stick with bacon. We don't got a lot of room in Trumplantis.
Yeah. So
what happened to Bannon? Anybody heard about Bannon lately?
He's got a good sheet. He's got like an 1,800 thread count
Oh,
sheet.
yeah.
You can't see. Like
Very comfortable.
he just sits in his office with his sheet on and no one thinks he's there.
He's invisible, huh?
I think Bannon is quite active.
Oh yeah.
I think he may be the smartest one in that entire administration because he doesn't need the camera. He doesn't need them. No, I don't need that shit. I'll just be back here, fucking all of you. And he is.
He's back there figuring out how to paint caves on the walls so the roadrunners run into them.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're at a stage now. I mean, we're heading into the middle of the summer here, and the senators are, like I said before, they're going to go home for their break, and when they come back,
they've done so.
oh yeah, very very busy.
When do they come back? August?
Yeah.
7 of them are exhausted.
Yeah.
Those 7 that they shoved in that room to write this damn bill, they're beat.
From counting the money? That
No, just like to
everybody
make
was
up a
giving
bill.
them?
They gave them all these things like make bills like this. Like I never read one. What do we do? Just we'll do one like this.
Just copy it.
Bill,
Copy it.
Google how to do a bill. All I get is
All you hear this playing is I'm just a bill, a lonely bill, sitting there. And, what are they listening
all right,
to?
hold on, take a note. I'm just a bill.
We have to get on the steps of Capitol Hill stat. I need a little boy and I need some talking paper. Go!
All right. I've looked everywhere for the talking paper. I can't find it. Look harder.
You have one of those easy buttons, don't you?
Look at Trumplantis.
Well, okay. So, moving on.
So no one's heard of Bannon's in the shadows.
No,
He's in the shadows, man. He's worm-tonguing his way.
He's, in the background manipulating.
That's how we got the King of Rohan to do what he wanted.
Well, what do you think about the 3 CNN reporters getting fired?
Were they fired?
They resigned.
They resigned.
Well, they were going to get fired.
They were going to.
I mean,
I didn't read the story. I only heard that they missed some facts.
Well, and the story was never reported on CNN. It only went on CNN.com, but that should make a difference. It was still reported. Mm-hmm. And basically had to do with one of the Trump campaign people and their connection to Russia, and they got some things wrong. There were some other things that weren't substantial. They went with one anonymous source, essentially, which is a big no-no. But on the other hand, this is a big no-no that a lot of journalists have been using for a while now.
Right.
And when you play with fire, you get fucking burned. That's what, Dan Rather got fucked on this.
Yep.
Back in 2004 when they rushed to report about George W. Bush and his National Guard service, which, by the way, was later proven to be true, what they reported, but when they proved it, they couldn't back it up. And he essentially lost his full-time gig with CBS over that, and so did several others. It was very embarrassing. And so there's this rush to report, and now especially with Russia, anything to do with Trump and Russia, oh my God, we got to get it. There's like this urgency to get it out there. Oh my God, we got to get it. And the 3 reporters, these are good reporters. They're not rookies. They're not kids. These are guys that have won awards. They have lengthy resumes, and I look at this 2 different ways. It's so disappointing that they did this because, A, they just handed a huge gift to Trump and all his folks because they're going to live off this for months. On the other hand, I look at it and I say, this is a good thing because CNN did the right thing by forcing their resignations and making them go because Fox wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
If 3 Fox reporters screwed up like this, they would never even admit they were wrong.
That's what I was going to say. The example is that people who are misquoted or don't get the true facts, they pay a price in journalism.
Right.
Not in politics.
And not
You guys
in fake
lie all
news.
you want, and not in fake news.
See, and Trump, so Trump immediately, see, CNN is fake news. I'm like, no, this is exactly the wrong point. This shows that CNN is not fake news.
Right.
They won't tolerate. People will lose their jobs at CNN.
And that's what that the Playboy reporter
Right.
got in Hurraby's face. Huckabee, the daughter.
Herbie.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Sarah Huckabee.
Yes, and just like no, that was his point.
Right.
And like good for him too.
Like, well, we're trying to do our job here. And your job is to answer our fucking questions because we're here on behalf of the American people.
Yeah.
And
what I took out of that is they're coming out with that, everything's fake news, but once again, there's still not 100 reporters resigning right now.
Right.
If it's all fake news,
Well,
all of these people would be resigning right now, and it's not. I mean, you can pull out certain aspects out of different things that you might disagree with, but I think it's like John said, it's not substantiated right now, but will be proven at a later date.
the fake news doesn't resonate with the majority of people. Fake news resonates with the Trump supporter, like the he can do no wrong supporters. The fake news, because still the Trump land and Trump people will still quote the news when it fits them.
When it fits them.
Well, they'll come in and they'll say like, well, CNN said this. Look at that CNN poll. Like CNN's fake news, so their poll's wrong. Not this time.
Right.
And so people are not
CBO
that
numbers.
stupid.
and so that reporter, Brian Karam, who's an editor at the Washington area Sentinel newspapers, but also writes for Playboy, said, and he was quoted today, he talked to the Associated Press, "There's a time and a place for everything, and the time has come to stand up and be counted. I'm tired of taking it. I want friendly relationships, but those who want respect have to show respect. We have shown that man and shown the administration respect for 6 months, and all we're getting in return is a lack of respect, derision, and bullying." And this is a guy who went to jail in 1990 for refusing to identify sources in a crime story. So,
Sweet.
I mean, this whole notion of, again, when you see someone like Trump who would point to this guy and go fake news, and and here's a guy who, on the basis of his ethical, taking an ethical stand, and going to jail on following his own ethics of his profession, and you just look at Trump and you're like, you wouldn't go to the bathroom, on your ethics. Mm-hmm. Well, actually. Literally, maybe you would.
You wipe with your ethics.
Right, that's true. So, the more they scream fake news, I think for most rational people, we see what it is. It's becoming a bit threadbare now.
It is. The hollower it sounds.
And it's just over and over and over fake news, and you go, okay, whatever.
See, but here's our telltale sign. Our narratives, our fictional narratives, mirror what we appreciate. So our heroes are the ones that we put out of this larger-than-life thing. The crusading reporter is still a big narrative.
Yeah.
Still a big narrative that a majority of people get behind.
Right.
And they can cry. When that starts to fall apart, then that's when we'll see a real degradation of what normal humans think of journalism.
So, but here's the downside or the dangerous side of this whole fake news phenomenon. Interesting video was put out a couple weeks back by the National Rifle Association. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to play this now. Just listen to the audio of this, and this is how they are pitching for new members.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Wow. Okay, so Damn is right. No,
I mean, that was a Hitler speech. I mean, really.
it really is. You're not
that's
shitting.
inciting violence. That is
misrepresenting
many people that are on the other side. The us versus them. Oh man!
And here's my first point about this was for all the fucking millions of dollars that the NRA gets, they don't know the difference between clinched and clenched.
Yeah.
Because they said if you look at when you see the video that has the dialogue at the bottom, it says a clinched fist. They meant to say a clenched fist.
That's because they clinch when a fist comes near because they know where it's going.
So, okay, that's the whatever point. But yeah, back to the larger point of that is dangerous rhetoric.
That is 1984.
I mean, that is exactly what that is.
Yeah, and,
it is.
That's
scary
are
as shit.
Changing the news, and we are the only place that you can get real news. And wow.
Yeah. And so. Wow.
And that's a complete.
And I've read my brother-in-law's NRA magazine before. It is absolutely
it's terrifying.
It's terrifying, and that's the whole cover to cover is what that's all about. Is to terrify that NRA member
to buy more guns,
to buy more guns, to buy more ammo, to shoot your neighbor. I guess
which is
he comes
fine.
Knocks for some sugar.
So there's this is a sign of desperation too. Membership is waning. No one took their guns. When the big, scary black boogeyman didn't take their guns, they're like, "Oh, well, shit. What's we need? I'm not scared enough. Someone." And so the NRA membership is lagging. Gun sales are the lowest they've been in 8 years. Ammo sales are the lowest they've been in 8 years. This is verified. So, what do? You gin up some more fear.
And that's how you do it. And
take one Bernie supporter shooting a congressman and you go nuts.
Well, and also interestingly enough, with the verdict last week exonerating the police officer in the shooting of Philando Castile,
which is a mess.
Which the more you look, and then only afterwards does the video come out, the body cam video, and you see that, and you just go, "Come on."
The family was just awarded like $6 million.
Yeah, they reached a settlement, but it is interesting, to say the least, that the NRA is eerily silent about a legal holder of a gun,
maybe a member,
being deprived of his life by an officer of the state. After he has legally informed the officer he has a gun and is still killed.
And he said to the officer, "I'm going for my wallet. I am not reaching for the gun."
And the officer said, exactly. The officer said, "Let me see your permit."
Yeah.
And he says, "I'm going to reach for it." And then he still shoots him because he freaks out. And you can see when you see the body cam video and in the dash cam video from the car, you can tell the officer. The officer knows he fucked up. You can see it in his demeanor and the way he's reacting. Like, he knows he just fucked up. And, of course, he was fired. Which, fat lot of good that does,
I was a security guard with a gun.
But, great. But, again, where's the NRA? Silent. And why are they silent? I don't understand. I mean, it only leaves you with one conclusion. They are silent because this gun owner is black. That's why. End of story. There's no if Philando Castile was white. First of all, well, okay. If he was white,
he'd have been walking. If he was white, they would have let him pack heat and walk up to the fence of a bunch of congressmen playing baseball.
Don't forget Dylan Roof, the guy who shot all those parishioners in that South Carolina church. And when he got busted by the cops, they took him to fucking McDonald's before they took him to jail.
Yeah.
Calmly, "Oh, it's okay, son. Oh, yeah. Oh, we'll take you to McDonald's." If it was reversed, if a black shooter had killed white parishioners in a church, number one, he wouldn't be getting in the back of a police car. He'd be getting in the back of the ME's van, So I just, these other issues that are going on outside of the political sphere, all feeding this narrative, and then you have the NRA step in and, I don't know, just
Is that just online, or are they running that in? And I don't assume they could run that on broadcast.
No, yeah, it's a Facebook ad. I'm sure it's an ad, but
I had a conversation with an officer. I mean, he doesn't live around here, but he was not Obama's friend during the Obama presidency. He is not a huge Trump supporter, but he just wants his area to be calm, so he doesn't fear for his life every day.
Right.
And he is absolutely livid that they're giving people cameras instead of more people. He says, we need more officers. We need more presence in the neighborhood. We need to be protected. And we need witnesses when we're on scene like this. The camera does not say everything. We need both. We got to have the video footage and then a corroborating witness, and these cases would go much faster and people would actually get justice because there would be these witnesses there. But the whole point of it is we're dangling these first responders out there in this chasm of hate and distrust of America. And it's them who deal with this day in and day out, all the way down to your pharmacist. When Obamacare gets canceled, I guarantee you there's going to be shootings at pharmacies. There is going to be a pharmacist who dies because of a government cut. And that's the same thing, is these people who are out on the very edge of humanity that we have going on here. They don't have enough resources, and we never give them that. We never give them enough resources. Training. I was watching one from Norway, I believe. They completely talked down this guy on a train.
Right.
No violence whatsoever. Their whole prison system is different. Everything is not a beat up to try and make that person submit. It's a conversation with that person to make them see the wrongs that they've committed.
Right.
And those type of things are hard for us to understand, but it really boils back down to how we want our society to be policed. And if we're going to send one cop out, he's going to need an AK-47 and an armored vehicle to go into the middle of a bad neighborhood. He's going to need that. If we send in a team of 100 officers into that neighborhood daily, then that neighborhood will calm the hell down.
See, it's not about policing, though. It's about community outreach.
True.
So now, see, the way this is set up is police organizations and police forces are quasi-military. They're very closed off. They're very insular, and they function like a military unit.
Right.
With a hierarchy, and nothing gets out. This is all the brotherhood and things like that. And that doesn't translate to the community.
Right.
The community fears and hates police because they're just punitive. Mm-hmm. If we can get to a point where communities and police departments are interacting with one another, not on a policing stage, but on a community stage, when Officer What's-His-Nuts comes to the school and talks about, hey, kids, I'm the officer, you trust me, you walk up and I can help you if you need help. Mm-hmm. But we don't get that. But what we get is that guy's out to bust me.
You're never going to get that if they don't have a guy to take off.
What about the African American? But what about the African American woman in California who called the police because she thought there was a robber? The cop came and she got killed by the cop.
Training. And it's 100%. That's 100%.
How many cops showed up?
Like 2 or 3. But there's a concept called a police personality when they hire. And this is from forensic psych stuff. And a police personality is a designated list of things that is desirable in someone when you're hiring for a police officer. And a lot of them are more barbaric or more action-oriented or violence-oriented or take care of the problem-oriented than we would probably want in like a normal interaction with somebody else. So this police personality that people look for, it's designed to have punitive damage instead of rehabilitative damage or community damage. Or community policing, and it doesn't happen everywhere. Of course, the people get in, but and a lot of this is the media as well, not journalism media, but our fiction media, where you got to be the hard ass cop, you got to be John McClane. That's how John McClane takes care of
but look, but look at the case.
We're left with a bunch of different things where that's what happened in the case where the woman got shot.
Right. But there was a quote out of that, and I thought it was from a neighbor or somebody who said, who's also African American, that basically said, I would sooner, even if I knew there was a serial killer living next to me, I'd just move before I'd call the police.
Right.
You know, like, so you talk about yours.
That's where we're at now.
And there are these concrete examples that are another way to put it, that are sort of culturally distributed to certain groups who the police are not your friends,
right?
And so it's reinforced by actions like this. And you know, there's an interesting story.
But the only way to change that is to have like more cops in a community setting, not a punitive setting. But, you know, like walking the streets, jump roping with kids. How many times do we see, like, cool little videos like that?
Right, and when you see those, and those are cool videos, you're right. And you need to see that more. But that's a style of policing in which officers are encouraged to get out of their vehicles and walk amongst those that they're policing and be a part of that and take part in that. You know, even here in white bread, Livingston County, you know, whenever my kids have had a lemonade stand, you know, usually if a police car comes by or even a fire, you know, it's cool. They always kind of stop by, and they'll always stop, and the cop will always get a cup of lemonade, and you know they're like, oh, this is my 14th shitty cup of lemonade today. But they're giving the kid the quarter, and they make that connection, and that's kind of cool to see. But you just wonder, okay, that's here.
And that's 100% opposite of me growing up here.
Right. Okay.
Every interaction that I've ever had with police in Livingston County has been negative. Aside from like being an adult and like you have a friend and I met your friend, you know, like
right.
But it's been negative. Like so, I wrecked my car one night. I'm 17 on Oak Grove Road. Icy patch, slipped, boom, hit somebody. I'm fine. They're fine. Cars are wrecked. The sheriff did the same thing, same road that night. And so when I went in, I'm like, hey, the sheriff did the same thing on the same road. Did he get a ticket? And they're like, well, no. Like, well, can we forgive mine then? Because, you know, you don't have to give him one, just forgive mine. And I was lit up, like lit the fuck up. And I'm like, wow. You know, my sister rolls her car once, and the cops that came were just complete dicks to her. She's upside down, hanging. Like, yeah, you know, we could get you out, but it's your own fault. Like, what? What is wrong with you people? And so, two different ways, you know, this that's an exemplifying that police personality. And maybe it's different now in a whole new community. But this was, of course, you know, 25, 30 years ago.
Right. I can't speak to those incidents, and I'm not saying that there aren't still, you know.
Like, who's allowed to get a gun? Well, anyone now.
Well, yeah. Well, but, you know, there's an interesting case. This West Virginia police officer, Stephen Mater, who lost his job because he didn't shoot a resident who had come out. Basically, this is in May of 2016. He got a call about 3 a.m. Ronald Williams was distraught. Came out of the home. His girlfriend had called 911 because he was threatening to hurt himself with a knife. Officer Mater arrives. He sees that Williams has his hands behind his back. He asks him to show his hands. When he did, he sees Williams has a gun in his hand. Now, almost any scenario on this point, this guy's going to be shot dead. All right. He asks him to drop the gun. He says no, but he sees that Williams is visibly choked up and says, "I can't do it. Just shoot me." Mater makes a judgment. This guy wants to do suicide by cop, and he's not going to oblige him. Right. He says, didn't appear angry or aggressive, just depressed. Now, Mater's a Marine veteran from Afghanistan. He's seen depression. Yep. His own brothers in arms. And he said his training told him this guy's not a threat to me or others. He's just a threat to himself. And so he didn't. So he's trying to talk the guy, and he's having this dialogue with him. And boom, 2 other cops show up, and they get out of their cars. They instantly see the guy has a gun in his hand, and they just shoot him dead. Just shoot him in the head, dead, done. And this guy gets fired. Now, he, you know, basically later made a settlement, or he's filed, he filed a lawsuit against the department. But my broader point here is that even when you have an officer who, by training and instinct, is trying to handle a situation that does not always have to end in violence, basically he is the exception and not the rule. Because his fellow officers come and just say, gun, dead.
That's what we're saying. There's not enough of him.
Yeah, and
Right.
you need, and so it's and again, who am I to second guess? Look, police. These guys, they put on a badge and a gun and they want to come home at night. I get it, and it's an incredibly difficult job, and I understand they're dealing with the fucking scum of the earth who I don't want to deal with. I'm not trying to say somehow their job is easy, because it's not, but just the notion of it's just easier to shoot people than to deal with them. I don't know. We need this whole retraining, whole rethinking of law enforcement.
It's
Right.
perception.
Because in their mind, let's say he talks him down. Now that guy is an issue. He's now in some program. They might not have a program to put him in for that night. He goes into jail. Now he's their responsibility. They go on and on into this paperwork thing in their head. And I'm not saying it's right, but I do know some that are like, well, what's the difference? That guy's going to be back here next week. If I just shoot him dead now, I don't have to deal with him. And that is the wrong way to say it. My point is, if you would have showed up there with 10 guys in a specialized unit that had the training, that would have ended differently. But it sent out one guy to deal with a gun. He's there scared. The other two guys show up. They think he's fucked in the head, and we'll take care of this.
Right. Well,
they're scared.
Mater got fired. The reason they fired him was he endangered his fellow officers.
Right.
They say, because he didn't kill the guy
Right.
before they arrived. And you go, I get that. I know that's a part of the job, that you protect each other in times of danger. But ultimately, your job is to protect and serve the public. Mm-hmm. And so, I just, we're losing I think in a lot of ways, like we have with military, we're losing the law enforcement community is becoming detached, just as the military community has become detached from society at large.
More detached.
More detached. The military community has become detached over the last 40 years since the end of the draft. And, I think that there's a compelling case to be made for maybe reinstituting the draft in some form or
to get
another.
regular people back in that aren't career
exactly.
military.
And so the military has become detached from the rest of society. And I think law enforcement, because they're so on the defensive now, because of fucknuts like us second guessing their every move, but then on the other hand, you see all these egregious cases of, I just think,
So I mean,
poor policing.
The idea of the lack of training and stuff. This is not new.
Right.
No, this is now we just have a Facebook where we can see videos of this. It's gone on for years and years and years and years. The idea of the police personality and the training.
Right. I saw something that said if Philando Castile had been pulled over in 1977. Here's what the story would have been. An African-American was pulled over by a police officer. He tried to pull a gun on the officer, and the officer shot him dead.
Yeah.
End of fucking story. What made the difference? What you just said.
Yep.
His girlfriend getting on Facebook Live. That's how that story became national suddenly. And boom, there it is. So you're right. It's nothing new. It's our ability to see inside this problem.
Right.
And
So, it's a festering problem that's been there, and that's what I think a lot of police organizations ignore. And I understand, I know some great cops, too, some wonderful human beings that are just some very good friends, and, they are just exemplary human beings, too. Mm-hmm. So it's not mutually exclusive, but when the organization itself, they've been denying this for so long. It's like, this is going to sound horrible, but it's akin to the Catholic priest thing. They've been denying for so long, what happened when the shooting? Oh, he pulled the gun on me and I had to take him out.
Right.
No one else was there. The girlfriend's going crazy. She's just hysterical.
Well, it's like the kid in Chicago that got shot, and by as he was walking away from an officer, and it was only after they released the dash cam photos, and you could the video, and you could see that the kid's walking away from me, and the cop shot him like 9 times.
Right. And this calls the shit part is this calls into question every legitimate protect yourself shooting that a cop has to do.
And in that case, in the Chicago case, several other officers, and I think just today, were charged, or yesterday maybe, were charged with basically falsifying their reports because their reports had him coming at them.
Yeah.
And it was only when the dash cam video was released that he ain't coming at you. He was going in the completely opposite direction. So that's that wall of blue silence that I think it serves them in the short run. I think for the law enforcement community in the bigger picture and in the long run, it is very detrimental.
I think it's served an older community in the past. Now we have a connected world.
Right.
You know, if it's not a dashboard camera, it's some ATM across the street that's picking this footage.
But, you know, a lot of police departments are also reporting they're having trouble getting cops, recruiting new officers.
Sure.
So, you know, we sit here and again, I try to, you're constantly trying to balance this where, you know, can you blame somebody for not wanting to be a police officer?
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, think of what that job entails. I mean, go out there. You mentioned, many police officers that are wonderful sorts. Well, they're carrying around these hidden nightmares that they've seen, and in spite of that, they're still wonderful people because they can kind of separate it. I think there's others that
rare.
can't. I think there's others that can't, that just slowly taints them throughout time, and they turn into a different human than what they started as.
Or there's people who just simply want the power.
Yeah.
And that's what when I was in high school here, anyone that wanted to be a cop, then when we were in high school, they just wanted a gun.
Yeah.
They were Tackleberry and police.
They were Tackleberry. Yeah, it's true. And like, you want to be a cop here? Yep. Why? I get a gun.
I get a gun. They let me shoot it.
Great.
Well,
wonderful. I'm moving.
I mean, I've heard this before, and it's along those lines. It is a thin line for some folks, between a criminal and being a cop. Mm-hmm. And I know for a lot of police officers are going to find that incredibly offensive, but that was told to me by a former cop who basically was of the opinion that if he did not become a police officer, and he became a police officer when he was 18 years old, he probably would have become a criminal.
There's something, so when in my study, and we're doing research and I've done interviews, there's a thing that a lot of cops go through that no one talks about, is they make a decision to become a police officer at 18, 19, 20, and when they're 40 and 50, this is not the life they wanted.
Right.
This is like when you're young and you're out there and you're going to change the world and all kinds of things. When you hit 40, you're putting your life on the line. Your pension is not enough. You've probably gone through a couple of divorces because that's completely common.
Yeah, that's why kids through school and you got no cash because the cop, I
mean, look, I don't want to, that's why if you remember the movie Colors with Robert Duvall and Sean Penn, I mean, that kind of was that dynamic. I mean, you had Robert Duvall kind of at the end of his career, he's seen it all and he's willing to just look the other way and say, fuck it, what's the point? And here's Sean Penn, he wants to bust everyone for every little fucking dime bag, and
Colors.
It was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
So. There's Hollywood again.
Yeah.
Informing us what we
see. The NRA was right. We use our movies and our comedy shows.
Yeah.
And to tell the kids to go out and resist.
We do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And private prisons and school lunches.
No, they're good. They're okay with private prisons.
Right.
You can only eat pizza in school lunch if it spells out resist with pepperoni. Done.
All right. Well, we've solved the world's problems once again.
Oh yeah, I got one word that's going to solve this whole cop issue. RoboCop. Just give me a bunch of him. Dead or alive, you were coming with me.
Well, we were talking about automation earlier.
Yep.
There you go. That's going to be another industry that'll be automated.
Yep.
This guy's really good.
He's not a guy. He's a machine.
All Detroit has a cancer. Cancer is crime.
Let the woman go. You are under arrest.
You better back up now!
Your move, creep.
I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking. King of my jungle, just a gangster, stalking, living life like a firecracker, quick as my fuse. Been dead as a death, back the colors I choose. Red or blue, cause of blood, it just don't matter. Sucker died for your life when my shot.
Subscribe to the No Cry Zone on iTunes and Stitcher and at abnormalentertainment.com/No Cry Zone. Find the No Cry Zone on Facebook and tweet at No Cry Zone. Email nocryzonepodcast@gmail.com. And for more podcasts, comics, books, movies, and more, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.